Okay, so let's jump into our Fear Street all three movies review. Let's bring on our special guest today, Black Philip Alvarez. Hey, Phil.
Hey, what's up, guys?
What's up, man?
I'm
Great
so
to have
happy
you
to
on the
see
show.
you, buddy.
Yeah. Every comment is from me today, so don't worry.
Oh no, it's great. It's great. Oh well, hey, Wookiee
and
Fever
Wookiee Fever.
1969 was here. It was great.
Wookiee Fever, yeah.
Yeah, we'll shout him out at the end.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we all saw all three movies. I think, Scott, you did a binge of all three movies.
Ooh.
I marathoned it. I did all three in a row,
Okay.
and I was so happy.
Okay,
good.
let's start with you.
Yeah, sorry, what are you? You're not.
Well, okay.
Mhm.
No. Let's
Do we
start
want-
with.
Want to go one by one?
One by
each
one?
movie. Yes, I don't want to. I don't think it would be fair. Fear Street 1994 is the story of a crazy ass motherfucker who goes and kills Maya Hawke, and you find out that he gets shot in the head, and then he shows up again in sort of a Scream-esque situation. And everyone is really confused as to how that happened because he was shot in the head. And there is terror. There is gore. I was really surprised with the gore.
Mhm.
The way it was filmed, it looked a little CW to begin with. But I thought that they were going with like the era appropriate lighting.
Yes.
But
Oh, yeah.
as the movie progressed, it was so interesting to see the gore, the context of the story, the interactions of the characters, certain things that weren't brought up that it was like, how does this work? And it's like, it's not important. Just move along.
Right.
Like everything about it I thought was great, and it hooked me into and we'll talk about it shortly. Fear Street 1978. But Phil, what did you think of Fear Street 1994?
Well, as a massive horror buff, I definitely like these movies a lot. Probably one of the best horror trilogies I've seen in a long time. They were fun. It was very much like the first one, 1994. It was very Scream-like. Obviously, 78 was very Friday the 13th like, and the last one, 1666, kind of worried at me at first, but the way how it shifted back into coming back to the first film, I liked that a lot better. So yeah, I had fun. I had a lot of fun with it.
How did you feel about the soundtrack in 1994?
Any movie that has a Rob Zombie or White Zombie, I'm always down for. So, so yeah, it was a great soundtrack.
It was.
Love the soundtrack.
1994. I liked. We talked about it a little bit on the show previously, so I won't go into in depth with it. But I did like that. I thought, it had that. You were talking, Scotty, a little bit about the aesthetic and the look of the film and the tone. I think it was definitely on purpose. Obviously, sure. And I think, obviously the Scream element of the movie was definitely on purpose. Just period correct, kind of, get everybody in that vibe. I did like it. I like the whole series, and we can talk more about that either at the end or what I did like. Well, I'll wait till we get to 1666 to kind of this kind of dovetails. Let me just set this up.
You can do whatever you want, man. It's your show.
Right. 1666 is great because half of the movie is the third part of the trilogy, right, with 1666. But then about halfway through, 3/4 of the way through, you get 1994 part 2.
Yeah, it's like
which was such a surprise.
So
it's like 3.5 movies, pretty much.
So it comes back around to where we started. So it's forward and reverse, but then it comes back around and finishes off strong. I thought, look, is this master filmmaking? No, no, it's not. Are these solid horror movies for weekend viewing and relaxing around the house? Hell yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was great. I actually really enjoyed some of the acting is okay. Some of the dialogue's cheeseball here and there, but I really liked the story. I thought the story was good. The through line was cool.
Are we doing spoilers?
Yeah, we can do spoilers.
We'll
You already said
hold
Maya
spoilers
Hawke
to the end.
died in the
Yeah.
first one, so you already
So
spoiled it. So.
But
Well.
I thought the story was really good. I like the it completely kept my interest the whole time. I never once said, I never felt in any one of these movies, and maybe this is good. They started out short and they got a little longer, but maybe it's good they kept it tight. So never once in any of these films did I go like, oh man, this is dragging, or oh man, I'm going to check out of this. I was engaged.
I was never bored
the whole time. I was never bored.
And the funny thing is that I checked to see, and I was like, okay, so the first episode is it's an hour and 45 minutes. Second episode, it was like an hour and 50. And then I never checked to see how long 1666 was. And I was like, well, I guess it's over when it's over.
Yeah,
and I
about
was
2 hours.
I was invested in the story after the first one to be like, okay, I'll watch the second one right after. And then when I got to the third one, I was like, I just want to finish this story. Because it's not that I had homework. It was because I was watching and I was like, no, I enjoyed it. And also I feel like I watched Fear Street in the perfect condition. I started at 10 p.m. So it was all dark in the ballpark. And it was just like, let's horror movie this. And it was amazing. It was great. There was swearing, there was sex, there was gore. Like absolutely everything about all three was satisfying to me. Even the fact that the 1666 was a vision that was populated by the actors of
the first movie.
Or the first two. And I thought
that was great. Yeah, that was cool.
I thought Cindy and Ziggy were both compelling actresses. I thought, oh my stars, who was that pixie haired girl who was banging the dude who got axed in the face? That was and that is not something that I was expecting when I found out after this second movie. And they were like based on the books by R.L. Stein, and I was like, wait. What?
Those were supposed to be kids' books. Like, where did all this gore and stuff come from, and cursing and
but sex?
But I kind of liked it. But that's what I dug about it. It didn't CW it like you said. So
the only thing. And also before we move any further, at the very first scene where Maya Hawke is running through the food court and she notices the first dead guy, I swear that guy is dressed up like Jay from Mallrats. He looks like Jay from Jay and Silent Bob from Mallrats.
That's interesting.
Maybe not Mallrats, but I saw it, and I saw it for a flash. I didn't rewind it, but I looked at it, and then later on there was a comment in terms of the newscaster exposition, and it was like, well, he was just a cool dude. I don't know why he died. He just hung out, smoked weed, and read comics. And so there were so many references in the first two to define the ages in which those movies came out that it was somewhat shocking and blatant, but I enjoyed every part of it. I thought they were a little heavy on the soundtrack.
Yeah, a little bit.
Well, if you're a massive horror buff, I mean, you expect it. I mean, this is everything you expected from a trilogy like this. But because the first one's very 90s horror, the second one was very 80s horror, and then like the third one, even though it was a half a movie, pretty much. But it was very much like The Witch and all those other movies of that type of genre.
I love that period. And Scotty and I both said, this seemed like a cool experiment for Netflix to do, but we're waiting for that 1666. That was what sounded like the piece de resistance. But and when I was watching it, I'm like, oh yeah, this is cool. And it was a little bit of a slower burn than the other two films, but it's it gets to the action fairly quickly, about halfway through that first half of the movie, and then we're off and running when it's 1994 Part 2, when we culminating in back.
If I may interrupt before we get to 1666, in 1978, it was essentially the origin story of the Sackhead axe murderer.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that was the only one who was important. You saw the development of the villain in the second one. And that I thought was in like the transformation of, what was his name? I want to say it wasn't Tony.
Tommy.
So when
Halloween
Tommy,
reference.
yeah, and Phil, you're such a horror guy. You probably picked up on 12 times the amount of references that there were in there. But like just seeing him be the primary,
so much,
and they're like, trigger warning, and I don't use that term lightly. There is a moment where Tommy walks in with an axe into a camp cabin and goes Anakin Skywalker on a bunch of younglings.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And that was like, and that was already at the point where I had seen a woman's head put through some sort of meat slicer.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
The gore in it was incredible. And also, if there are nitpickers who are worried about spoilers, when Ziggy gets stabbed a whole heck of a lot at the end of 1978, you know why she survived? It's because the guy who wanted her to survive had to deal with the devil. Spoilers.
Yeah. Spoilers.
That's right. It was a good series of movies. In fact, I hope that informs Netflix that these kind of that experiment worked, and these kind of like trilogy type movies, if you have if you want to do them, this is the way to do them. I love that every Friday we got a new one. I think that's the way to do it. I think we were talking about the Continental and how they're going to do 3 movies in 3 consecutive nights. I think that's perfect. Don't make it like especially if these movies, because these movies they're not, these aren't movies in the theater. We don't need to wait years in between them. Let's make sure that we have them in a timely fashion. And I think that it's going to be a hit. In fact, they've been trending since they dropped. On Netflix.
3 of them were in the top 10 on Netflix. So.
1978 was top 9 in Canada when I watched it last night.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's awesome.
Now, in terms of the 1666, as Phil mentioned, and as you mentioned, Steve,
I like the wait. Never mind. Okay, I'll just go. I like the aesthetics of it. The only thing I didn't really care for was kind of some of the acting was a little bit hokey and like I mean, as we see here in Texas, bless her heart, but that actress, her accent went in and out kind of a bit. Yeah. But I mean, it doesn't hurt the story, it doesn't hurt the film. But that would probably be my only criticism of 1666. And I did like that. Glad that they didn't outweigh its welcome, because 1666 it was kind of getting a bit silly towards the end. But then when it suddenly just stopped, I'm like, whoa, we're just going, and it goes back to 1994. I'm like, it's like 2 movies in one. So,
I thought that was such a brilliant way to come back, bring the story back around, right? It was a good device. They used it well. I didn't expect it, which is good.
Me neither.
It's good to be surprised at these things.
It's like 3.5 movies, pretty much.
I know we're probably not the target audience for films like this, but man, it was. Maybe we are. I don't know. I had a great time with it.
And I had an interesting thought just in regards.
Sexy 20-something actresses in horror movies. I'm there.
Yeah,
but
all
also
the actresses were good. The actors were good. The story was told well.
Depicting same-sex relationships, and I've had conversations with people saying and this is why I kind of want to highlight that just because it's an R.L. Stine, based on the R.L. Stine stories, it's not for kids.
No,
for the violence alone. It is not for kids. The adults' situations, not to be that parental guidance, but the adult situations of that in terms of drug use and alcohol and alcoholism and abusive parents and everything. With that, there's also a same-sex relationship between the 2 primary female protagonists.
Right. Well, already got those people that are bringing up, the W word that we all hate.
But not only
Wikipedia.
That, Yeah,
Yeah.
but the gore. I mean, the gore alone, I think, earns the NC-17 type of rating
was
for
that
this.
close.
They don't do it for those shows, but it's definitely a mature audience's movie. They're not for kids.
If you do enjoy people getting hacked to death with axes, this is the trilogy for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in some inventive ways, which is pretty
The bread slicers.
Oh,
yeah.
But in ways that also graphically, like I could tell some of it was CGI, and there was a little bit of janky CGI and whatever. But even it was like, no, I've never actually seen the repercussions of a person being hacked in the face with an axe before, and thank you for showing me that.
The little boy with the bat bashing it. I mean, bing, bing, bing,
Creep
bing,
me out.
Fucking freak me out.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Like a little
that's.
treat,
I mean,
like
so there's some cool
reference.
stuff. There's some cool stuff in the movie.
There is so much.
And like Phil said, if you're a horror fan, you're gonna pick up on a ton of cool little Easter eggs and homages and references. Yeah, it's awesome, dude. Like I said, this isn't Shakespeare by any means. These aren't winning. These are Chariots of Fire winning awards and shit. But they're just good, solid movies to have fun with, and especially on the weekend. I watched them on Sundays, and it was a great Sunday afternoon movie for me. Every Sunday last 2
weeks. I think one of the pluses is the director is married to one of the creators of Stranger Things, so that probably helps too. So he probably gave her a lot of insight on how to, make the film. I know Scotty's not a big Stranger Things fan, but
I like this way better than I liked Stranger Things. I actually was invested.
One of the creators of Stranger Things. So.
Yeah. Well, she did a better job here than I found her on the other place. Mm-hmm. So, but that's just my opinion. I could be wrong as usual. And then, do we want to get into the villain turn and how that was creative and amazing and something that had been planted organically throughout the trilogy and actually was investing as when I first found out, like there are some turns in the stories where you think that what's her name? Who's the primary character?
Dina.
When Dina is showing up at the rival high school, Sunnyvale and the Shady Siders. And she goes and she's all jealous and she's going to go give her hope chest to Sam. And there is that thing at the beginning of the movie of the first of 1994. And it's like, okay, so Sam's the quarterback of the team. And you find out that Sam is not the quarterback of the team. And it is the cheerleader. And I was like, ooh, what a twist. And but it didn't do it for the sake of, it did it to for lack of a better term, subvert my expectations, but it did it in favor of the story and my investment. And I was like, I don't know who these characters are. The movie is going to tell me who these characters are. And it was not spoon-fed to me. When I was surprised, I was honestly and earnestly surprised. The storytelling was organic and great. Everything about it kept me engaged, and I don't know what better a compliment I can give.
Now, I'm probably just a simpleton, and most people probably caught this way earlier than I did, but I was surprised that the sheriff turned out to be the bad guy.
I'm the movie, I'm the horror buff here, and even I didn't catch that. So
I didn't. I was like, whoa! I didn't see that.
That was
coming.
a good twist.
I didn't either, and I feel like a damn idiot because his name was good.
Because good, right?
Sheriff
and
good.
I'm like, yeah. You know what? I don't even think I paid attention. But that
2.5 movies. They were like, "This is Sheriff Good," and I was like, "Well, he must be good."
They didn't make it.
They were making all about Sarah.
I never picked up on the good name until the end, until the last movie. I'm like, it just because they didn't focus on it. So they didn't. And also
his performance was so good.
But he had the best performance in the 1666 one, I thought.
Yeah,
I agree.
He was the more believable one in 1666. So.
But he always made you think that he was thinking. He was trying to assess the situation, and when I saw it initially, I was like, oh, he's trying to assess the situation. And no, he was trying to assess the manipulation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was a very interesting and
it's amazing how that turn informs everything that happened before, right?
Yeah.
So and then you're like, oh, this
this
is why that in 1978 this happened with the brother, or you know what I mean, and the whole, and it was just. It was good. It was good storytelling. And what can I say? You know,
smart. I mean, it didn't.
A lot of people.
Its audience
I'm sure
because it's horror.
I'm sure a lot of people are going to pick it apart, and that's fine. But I think for what it was,
I've seen it for the music choices. I've seen it because of the same-sex relationships and all the reason why Sarah Fair got hung in the first place. I've already seen all that criticism.
Yeah.
Silly, because if that's all you can come up with, you need to get a life. So
when they cut off her hand,
right? Yeah, that
was brutal.
That was pretty brutal. I was like, yeah, dude, they're showing this right now.
Like they don't hesitate for nothing. They're like they went there.
Yeah.
Like there was so much good stabbing, there was so much good axe play, there was so much good gun play, there was let's blow up. There was a beheading.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, it was and I'm not much of a horror guy, Phil, so maybe I'm a bit of a pussy. And I wasn't scared by it, but when I watched it, I was shocked by it. And I thought
that's a good thing if even you liked it, Scotty. So
yeah, that's what I'm actually pleasantly surprised. I did not think Scott was going to like this trilogy.
I thought you were going to tear it apart. I mean,
I'm like, all right, cool.
No, man, I was looking to tear it apart in the first 40 minutes. I was like, this is just cheesy Scream ripoff. And then once things kicked into gear, I was like, no, I'm fine with this. I am absolutely, this is great. Like, and even, there was a stupid joke in 1994 where it's like, the protagonists go and they bang in the ladies' room, and then the brother and
gets lucky with the hot chick,
valedictorian go bang in another room, and then the nerd grocery store employee of the month jerks off by himself, and then as they all come back together, the nerd who jerked off by himself, he's like, did you guys all go to Pound Town? And they're all like sort of being awkward. And he's like, don't worry about it.
Like, so
me too.
Me too. Yeah. I'm like, oh, God.
Some of it was cringy, but I mean, it totally
fit. Of course it was cringy. It was a horror movie. Like I was getting nitpicky about like, when did IRC actually happen? Would the internet be this reliable at that time? And then I was like, dude, there's a witch. Maybe if you're worried about things, maybe just relax.
Right. Yeah. So overall, I thought it was good. I don't know if you guys want to. Do we want to give a score to this thing?
I'll take one trilogy or movie at a time.
Let's do the trilogy as a whole, so we can get out of here in a decent hour here. Phil, you go first.
Shoot, I'll give it a solid B+.
Ah, awesome, Scotty.
I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. I would like to watch all 3 movies with other people.
Awesome.
We should do that. We could do a watch party.
I'll give this a solid B. So that's where I'm at. I would say it was a 7.5 or 8 out of 10 if we're doing that.
7.5 for me for sure.
I think an 8 out of 10 is for me. I think that's like an A-.
That works.
The last one dropped it to an below A to me, but I still liked 1666, and I liked how it went back to the 1994. So
yeah,
that's what saved it. That's what saved the movie. For
I was wondering how they were going to do that. I was like, it was really solid. I and like I said, for a Sunday afternoon movie, I couldn't ask for any better.
If you have lot of laundry to do,
watch
all 3.
Watch all 3.